Hey everybody, how you doing? It's Forrest and John here with the ABODE Real Estate Group, back for another one of your monthly market updates. Thanks so much for sticking around and watching as you do every month, and we really appreciate it.
Yeah, so this month we're going to kind of just jump into what we're seeing out there as usual, and it's not pretty out there. Like, let's be honest.
It's not pretty
It's
out
not
there.
pretty, yeah.
No, it's a constant battle for every deal to put together that we've done recently. And there's just a lot of inventory, a lot of unrealistic sellers. If you're out there with your buyers, you're seeing a lot of people that are very non-flexible with the prices that already don't even make sense. So it's very hard to explain the dynamic to your buyers sometimes. And with sellers, thankfully, most of our sellers are quite reasonable that we have right now. So we've been having the ongoing conversations with them about how to react to the market and what we're seeing out there. So overall, it's well received. But in a nutshell, what we're hearing from everybody is that it's a tough slog out there right now.
It is. I mean, it's supply and demand are both playing a part in it. Obviously, supply is racking up, and it has been racking up continuously since the beginning of the year. Demand has dropped. I mean, it dropped heavily kind of in the spring, and it stayed low. It hasn't really recovered. But what's kind of happening, I guess, in the simplest terms, is New Year is kind of like a fresh blank slate. People come in, and, we came into the year. The Bank of Canada was saying we're probably going to do some more rate cuts. We're probably going to ease this down gently, and economists are saying we expect 6 cuts in 2025 and all this kind of stuff. And sellers are going, okay, here we go.
Here we go.
After a couple of years of really slow sale, this is going to be the year. And quite frankly, we thought that too. All the economists for all the big banks were predicting 4 to 7 cuts or something like that. I mean, there was no doubt that there was going to be heavy cutting coming gradually throughout 2025. So what actually happened is, it wasn't like, okay, buyers, get ready, let's jump in. It was more like, hey, sellers, you've been really wanting to sell for a while.
Yeah.
Now's your time. And everyone was basically singing from the same hymn sheet and just jumped in. And what you've had effectively is, say there's 100 listings a month for each product type coming in on each city. 15 to 20 are selling. So you've got kind of 80 to 85 listings just stacking up every month. And if you look at the line, it's just for the inventory.
Yeah, and I think after like a couple of years of slow sales already, lots of realtors out there were kind of hurting a little bit. And it's a very common thing that we've touched on before in our field, where we go into a listing presentation and we feel like we're very accurate with our data and very accurate with our expectations that we set with the sellers, and we leave feeling good about it, and then we get a call a couple of days later, we're like, oh, actually we've decided to go with another agent. We're always like, what the heck, what did we do wrong here? And we see the listing come up, and it's 150, 200 grand higher than we established what we thought a sale price would be. And then 2 months on the market later, they drop it 100 grand, another 2 months they drop it 100 grand, and eventually sells 6-7 months later at kind of around the figure that we said, or the listing's canceled and terminated.
Or sometimes lower.
Or
if
lower.
the market trend's lower, that's the other
exactly.
thing. Yeah.
So I think what's happened a lot at the beginning of this year was that there was a lot of realtors out there that were just kind of really pushing for listings. There's a lot of sellers that were basing their expectations off of pricing from a whole year prior, 6 months prior, kind of what the market value was spring of 2024 or 2023, whatever, but just not really setting expectations based on current market. And to be fair, in a nutshell, we didn't really have much data to go from because of the lack of sales.
That's kind of where the gut feeling has to come in, aside the data, because there is no data. So you kind of have to go, what is my gut feeling? What does my gut tell me buyers are going to pay for this home right now?
Exactly. So I think we saw a lot of listings come up in the beginning of the year with unrealistic prices that, and perhaps people weren't even really aware that they were unrealistic prices. But now that we're, almost halfway through the year, we can kind of look back and be like, you look at the sales data and the places that are actually selling, and it's significantly less than a lot of the people are listed for. So I think this has really bled over into the condo market, where we have this record high inventory everywhere, and it's the people that listed it early in the year haven't reacted quickly enough. Their listings are getting stacked upon all the new listings, and unless it's priced really, really sharp, nothing's moving. So you're seeing buildings with buildings of 100 units with 15 listings in them, right? So
yeah, and that's the thing with the condos. Sorry to interject,
no,
but with
go ahead.
the condos, it's kind of like houses, for example. There's quite a lot of you can be on the same street and go through two different houses. They've got kind of similar-ish floor plans, but the updates can really vary, right? Because a 90s basement entry home could have like, one's got a suite, one doesn't have a suite, one backs onto this, one backs onto that, one's done a whole new like kitchen and everything else, one's done that. It's like
one's done there all that like brand new lands.
Yeah, or roof or polygear replacement, piping, whatever it is. But with condos, they're very much like the same. Right, and especially like most of the condos like that have been built are quite new. So a lot of them haven't had renos.
Yeah.
So if you look at these new condos the last 10 years, they're pretty much all the same. So you go in a building and there's like all the 04 units. So it's like 1004, 1104, 2604. There could be 3 floor plans in the same building, all just different heights, same floor plan, same everything, maybe different color schemes. But the reality is, if you're up against 2 of the same floor plan, and then the only way to beat them is on price.
Yeah.
It's purely, if you've got 3, if you're a buyer and you're looking at 3 products looking the same way, just with different heights, what I would be doing is calling getting my realtor to call every single agent that has those floor plans that I like and saying, what's your seller situation? Do they have to sell?
Yeah.
Right? And this is being a buyer, right?
Yeah.
Because that's like the reality is the ones that are motivated that have to do it are the only ones that are actually going to do it.
Exactly. Either they've got their eyes on a step up, they're going to a townhouse or a detached or job relocation or financial issues, whatever. They have to sell for some reason, and those are where the best deals are going to lie. The other people are either kind of fishing or just being like, we'd like to make a move if we can get this slightly unrealistic price. And the listings are being tossed up and they're going stale. And really in like a low rise, 4 to 6 floors, the only thing that can really make you stand out is either you're a ground floor with a really big yard or you're a top floor corner with a great outlook. And that's about it. Everything else in the building will just kind of all meld together and they'll just kind of all be around the same price per square foot unless one has some outrageous renovations or whatever. But we're seeing this a lot now too, where like renovations previously, great, but like we're seeing places where it's like a brand new kitchen compared to like a 15-year-old kitchen and the price difference is like 10 grand. So it's like you're not being like, oh well, I've got a $50,000 new kitchen, so instead of 6 I should be getting 640. It's like, no, you're instead of 6 you're getting 610. Another one that has a 15-year-old kitchen but still looks nice and it's a bit more worn, but whatever, they're getting 6. So it's a very difficult market to navigate sellers through because there's not a lot of and rationale or logic going into it.
Yeah, and timing plays a part. I mean, I would say this is the most nuanced market I've ever known. Like, obviously there are certain markets where like nuance doesn't really come into it. It's just there's a shortage and people go crazy over certain things or whatever. Like we saw for the majority of the last 10 years, it's kind of how it's been, right? Now it's like you've basically got to be like the overseeing oracle of all inventory to actually know what you're doing. Like it's really difficult. And even then, even if you feel like you've nailed it, a lot of the time it just doesn't end up that way because something has shifted in the 3 weeks that you've been getting ready to list, right? These are hard times. Like Forrest said, there is no liquidity in the market. The investors have gone. And that's why I think the condo market especially is having all the woes, the majority of the woes right now, is because that's where the investors played. We've said it before, you look at a condo building, anywhere that was sold in the last 10 years, half the listings or more are tenanted. I would say probably 70% of them are tenanted. And the reality is a lot of these guys, they can hang on, they can list for 6 months and eat the cost for 6 months, but the reality is a lot of them have their heads in the sand. Like, it's not getting better. It won't get better for a long time. And it's the same with not just the condo market, with everything. I think we're into this at least to the end of the year, into next year. Who knows how long after that? I mean, it could rebound next year. It could not, right? I mean, I really don't know. It's a time when I think you just have to make the right decision right now with what you want to do. And if it's a difficult decision, that's kind of the one you have to make. Like, if you have to rip the Band-Aid off and take a bad price, maybe in 6 months that'll be a great price.
Yeah, exactly. Like bad price versus good price is a very relative
2020
term, right? So, it's really going to be interesting to watch how things play out over the next year, because it's like for example, even I was evaluating a condo for a client. They're not quite ready yet. So I gave them one price based on the last 6 months of sales, a few recent sales to go from. I'm like, okay, I'm pretty confident this is kind of like what you're looking at. And then within the 2-week period that they're thinking about doing this, I look and there's another sale that's like 35 grand less than.
And that seller was desperate.
Yeah, and I called the realtor and the seller was like, oh, well, yeah, she is moving to X area and she has her eye on this and she just wanted to get it done. So we put it up low and just took the first offer. So I think what's going to happen is that is gradually going to seep through all aspects of the market and eventually will just bring the market value down low. The people that are motivated or need to sell or have to sell are going to be the ones that will do it first. And in turn, once we have enough data from those sales, realtors are going to be able to convince their sellers that A, they're being unrealistic, or they're going to be convincing their buyers like, no, you can be more aggressive based off of these. We have this data to go at. So
yeah, tell me a buyer right now that will pay more than the last comp.
Oh,
there is not one out
not going to happen
in this market. So that comp you're mentioning there has repriced that building.
Exactly. Yeah.
So this is what, and it's happening everywhere. It's not just condos, townhomes, everything.
And then when that's happening too, like I'm working with a seller now where we put things on hold for the foreseeable future because a sale. This is a whole nother, not what I was just talking about, but a whole other situation. But there's a sale in the building for an identical floor plan that is, in my opinion, like at least probably $100,000 less than what the value of that unit is. And we basically have to just sit and wait and hope no one else lists that kind of unique floor plan in that time frame until that sale kind of just falls away and we can list again at like kind of the price. So it's a very strange market dynamic right now. And
I think people like as well need to understand as well. Sometimes we hear like all the realtors are like, you know, bidding up prices, or the realtors are the market controls the price, right? And it's like, especially in a market like this, really the people that control the pricing are just the buyers. Like, I mean, they're the ones right now who everyone wants. Like, every seller is competing for that one buyer once in a while to come along and choose theirs out of the 5 in the area or the 5 in the building that they want. And, you know, it's not easy. So, like, how do you do it? If you've got a unit that needs a renovated unit, you just got to slash right down to be the best price by a long way.
It's kind of funny how it's gone full circle with this, because it's like, I don't remember just the other day I was showing up with a buyer for like, you know, a decent price point buyer, and it's like you kind of pull up and you're like, feel like a big shot with your buyer right now. But before it was always like, you know, the more listings you got, the better it feels, and this and that. And we're steady collecting inventory, but it sure feels good right now walking up with like a good solid buyer, and everyone.
Suddenly the
listing agents are like,
getting,
oh hey, okay, well,
it's kind of like red carpet.
What do you need? Anything I can do to help? You need any information at all? We're here for you, bud. So it's kind of funny how things have turned, and while we do like listing, and there's the old saying, list to live, the more inventory you have, the better. You know, I'm sure like 4 or 5 good solid buyers on the go right now.
I love some buyers. I mean, I think it's funny this year because we're kind of looking back at the deals we've done, which aren't a lot, but we were looking back and it's kind of like, if you look at all of them, there's only really 2 buyers who have bought in that haven't sold something. So a lot of times we sell a house and then they buy something else. We help them on both sides, right? We've had a bunch of those. We've had a lot of sellers selling and just cashing out, or selling family properties, whatever it is. But we've only had 2 buyers this year who have just got into the market. 2, and one of them was in January, and one of them was recently because she actually had to make a move. It was a personal situation. But there's been no like. Usually by now we're swamped with like first-time home buyers, like eager to get in. There's none of that, and you have to ask yourself the question. It's not because of the market's not great, because I think a lot of people know now that's an opportunity. It's because of fear. There's zero. I've been saying this for the last like month, that there's zero urgency. Zero. There's no urgency. You could be so well priced that you could have like 45, 50 groups through an open house, and you won't get a call back for a second showing until like Wednesday. And you might not even get an offer for the following week. You might do 2 weekends of open houses. Yeah. You might have 30 people through, and there's not one talk of an offer. Yeah, not one talk. And maybe someone will request some docs. You could be the hottest listing. That's one, but then you could also just do an open house and get an offer right away at full price and sell it, like we did with Gabriella.
It's very strange.
It's like, It's odd. But the reality is this: everything we've sold in a fast time frame for a decent price recently may not have seemed like a decent price to that seller, but the reason it's sold for a decent price in hindsight was because we hit that honeymoon period of being on the market within that first week, and we created a buzz and people wanted it. And there was an urgency with Gabrielle and everything else.
Yeah.
But there was a sense of urgency because we were well priced, we were attractive, and people knew that compared to the rest, that was the one they had to buy. So there was a fear of loss on that. But that's the thing. Again, it comes back to pricing. Everything is about pricing these
So
days.
it's like you really can't be too low, and you definitely can't be too high. So it's about finding that like perfect price point where there's enough room where the buyers will feel like they can negotiate the price a little bit, because everyone wants to do that. And that you know that you can't go too much lower than that, or your sellers will lose their minds. So it's like it's really hard to find that kind of middle ground with the pricing right now.
It's really tough.
It's okay. Everything's okay. Everyone's having. I feel
sorry for new agents right now.
Yeah.
I think that we've hit. I think last year we hit a record for the amount of realtors in the Greater Vancouver board. I think it was 15,000 or something. Like
I think
that.
by the end of the year we're going to hit a record for people leaving the industry.
Probably. And I think obviously licenses run on a 2-year cycle, so you'll probably see in a couple of years' time that the numbers they'll drop a little bit over time. But in a couple of years' time, I wouldn't be surprised if that's gone 15 down to 12.
Yeah.
Because the reality is right now, agents like us, they were always kind of medallion, which is top 10%, top 10%. And we've been doing it for a long time. If you have a big client base, we're surviving off repeat business and referrals. If you're hunting for new clients right now, good luck. Because the reality is, where are they?
Yeah, there's a huge burn rate in this industry too, where lots of agents are burning like thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars a month on like their inventory, but also like marketing costs, like all the different fees and stuff like that. So it's like lots of people are just burning tons of money. And if you get up into that upper echelon of the industry where we're talking 10, 15, $20 million houses, like some of those agents have a burn rate of like $20,000 to $50,000 a month. So they're burning huge amounts of money.
And if they're selling a third of the volume they usually sell, that's pretty much just to break even at best.
Yeah. So there's a lot of stages to this market in terms of dollar volume and like the type of properties the agents sell and that. And we're very thankful that we've always been very spread. We do a lot of repeat and referral business, so we're all over the place in all different areas, all different types of properties. And I really think that keeps us afloat just by that and the amount of people that we meet and are turned on to. So we don't have a high burn rate. We just chum along as normal, and things are okay for us right now. We would love some more buyers, so if you know anybody, send them our way.
I should probably say thank you for at this point, to be honest, because if we didn't run our business with like low costs and basically just relying on you guys to give us referrals and repeat business, we literally wouldn't be doing this right now. Like we wouldn't have an income. So thank you, because
we appreciate you.
Everyone who's sent us a referral, everyone who's come back to us, really is the reason we are able to work right now. There would be no work if we didn't have that. Everything we've done this year is based on that. So thank you.
Yes, thank you very much.
Like from the bottom of our hearts, seriously, because like it is wild out there right now, and this will all blow over at some point. The question is when.
I'm going to say 18 months.
I feel like that's a good. So what are we now? We're kind of mid 2025. So you think early 2027 will be? I think I'll probably back you up on that as well. I think 2026. I don't think is going to be a rebound year. Maybe towards the end you might see things turn over a little bit more.
The only thing that can really like save the market at this point is the inventory gets chewed up,
but that's not going to happen.
That's not going to happen.
But even if rates are not the boogeyman they were. Like rates are fine, and no one's talked about rates all year.
Yeah,
everyone's like, cool. I'm paying 4%. I'm paying 4.5. I'm paying 4.3. Whatever it is, they're cool with it. All the rates are the same. They haven't changed. They probably won't change at all moving forward. I think the issues right now is people are worried about what's going on in the world. Am I going to have a job in 6 months?
Is there a massive recession coming?
Layoffs, like construction industry layoffs are going to be huge. Film, there's been threats of tariffs all over. There's so much going on. So unless you have to do something, you are just staying put. That's where the urgency for peace comes in. So that's where we are. So I think you're right. I think we're into this for the remainder of this year and probably all of next year as well. Even if things pick up early next year, you will not see the inventory clear for 9 to 12 months. There is
It's
so
gonna
much
be
out
a
there.
while.
It's going to take a long time for everything to pick up. So suddenly that laggy inventory starts getting chewed up, and it's going to take a long time. So the reality is, if you're looking to sell, you have to be realistic. If not, you've got to put it on the back burner for 2 to 3, probably 2 years. And hopefully it will happen then. But at the end of the day,
It is what it is.
this is the market we're in. So
it is what it is.
it's probably...
We also meant to make this short, but we've been running.
Yeah, we've
20
been babbling a
minutes
little
now,
bit.
so we better go. But we'll be back next month, and we'll give you a new update. I think we got a rate announcement in June.
June 4th is a rate
June
announcement.
4th, so
Likely
we'll get
40% chance of a cut. So likely going to be a hold.
Yeah.
Even if it was a cut, it only affects variable. It's not going to change anything.
Yeah.
So forget the rates.
Maybe it'll renew some buyer confidence, but overall, I'm not
I don't think
too
so.
optimistic about it. So.
No.
Yes. Okay.
We'll be back next month, and then we'll fill you in. But thanks as always for watching, and thank you for all your referrals. We appreciate it.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.